This February, iHeart celebrates Black History Month by amplifying the voices that define Black excellence.
Reflect upon and celebrate history and culture.
From curated playlists celebrating iconic Black artists to powerful podcasts.
My grandmother marched with Martin Luther King.
And Black History Month radio. We're shining a light on the music, stories, and culture that inspire us all.
Black history is our history.
Celebrate with us.
History in the making.
Listen on the free iHeartRadio app.
This week in gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello everyone, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week, BioWare gives a Mass Effect 5 update. A GTA 5 actor shares his hopes for GTA 6. Xbox Game Pass hits record growth. PlayStation ditches PC sign-in requirements. And is a Sleeping Dogs movie in the works? We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's get started. Despite Dragon Age: The Veilguard earning 9 out of 10s across the board, Dragon Age was less successful than EA had anticipated, captivating less than half of its target audience. After launch, the game's developer BioWare redirected all of its focus on the next Mass Effect game. The next Mass Effect game has been in development for some time now, and all of the positions for developing the game have been filled. So then, what happens to the developers who worked on Dragon Age? Well, BioWare's general manager, Gary McKay, explained in a studio update, saying, quote, "Given this stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio. We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit." This is obviously a better alternative to laying off staff, and it is apparent that EA realizes it is in their best interest to keep their talent in-house, rather than losing them to their competitors. But this hasn't stopped top talent like Dragon Age's director Corinne Bush from leaving BioWare on her own accord. Corinne's departure might not have anything to do with BioWare's shift in personnel, but the timing comes across as a little bit fishy. Regardless, BioWare still has plenty of talented developers still under their employ for the development of Mass Effect, including Derek Watts, Mike Gamble, Parris Lilly, and Preston Watamaniak, who have shared history working on previous Mass Effect titles. For one of my favorite franchises, let's hope Mass Effect 5 goes off without a hitch. Grand Theft Auto 6 is the most anticipated game of 2025, and yet we know so little about it. We don't know anything about the game's story or its characters. As a result, fans have resorted to filling in the gaps by creating theories of their own. One theory of note was shared with Screen Rant by none other than Steven Ogg, the actor who played Trevor in GTA 5. He told Screen Rant that he would like to see Trevor get a taste of his own medicine in GTA 6. "It would be fun if Trevor appeared in it just to be killed at the beginning," said Steven. "I think it would be cool because it also acknowledges the fans of like, hey, thank you, pass the torch, stomp Trevor's head in, and allow a new generation to take over." Steven's theory is a callback to a similar scene from GTA 5 where Trevor kills Johnny Klebitz, the protagonist of the GTA 4 DLC, The Lost and the Damned. I love the idea of Rockstar making it a habit to introduce protagonists from previous games to a new generation of gamers. To piggyback off Steven's theory, I'd like to see Rockstar bring back Tommy Vercetti from GTA Vice City. GTA 6 will take place in a modern-day Vice City, so I think it would make a great fit, and I'd love to see what he has been up to over the last 40 years. I just hope we don't have to wait much longer to find out. It appears Microsoft's investment in Xbox Game Pass is starting to pay off, after reporting more subscriptions to Xbox Game Pass over the last quarter than any other. The subscription base for Game Pass PC has grown by 30%, no doubt due to titles like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle releasing day one on Game Pass. As a Call of Duty title, Black Ops 6 was guaranteed to be a smash hit for Microsoft, but they were taking a big gamble when it came time to release Indiana Jones. Would this 40-year-old IP work as a modern-day AAA title? Or would gamers see an Indiana Jones game as little more than an Uncharted clone, which ironically took its inspiration from the Indiana Jones films? Given its availability on Game Pass, it is difficult to measure the game's overall success on the market, but Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella says Indiana Jones is doing very well, having amassed over 4 million players. But Microsoft isn't out of the woods just yet. Even though Xbox Game Pass has been growing rapidly, Xbox hardware sales have been spiraling downward, posing a near 30% decline in revenue. It looks bad on paper, but perhaps this is all just part of what Microsoft has planned for its gaming division. Microsoft's most recent ad campaign, "This is an Xbox," encourages consumers that they don't need Xbox hardware to play the latest Xbox games. Phil Spencer has said publicly that Xbox has no plans to stop making hardware, but if Microsoft intends to turn a profit on Xbox hardware, they need to make a change and make it fast. We'll have more on this story a little later on in the show, so stay tuned. Waves of PlayStation exclusive titles have been making their way over to PC, giving those who don't own a console the opportunity to experience some of the best games PlayStation has to offer. However, Sony's move to expand their player base beyond consoles comes with its own set of drawbacks, the most frustrating of which is a requirement that players on PC need to sign in with a PlayStation account or create a new account to play, resulting in public outcry from disgruntled PC gamers, deeming that signing into a PlayStation account just to play a single-player game is simply ridiculous. Well, it seems that Sony has been listening because they have announced that signing into a PlayStation account will no longer be necessary to play future PlayStation titles on PC. The sign-in feature isn't gone completely and has instead been made an optional feature, getting players to sign in with the promise of trophies and other in-game goodies. Sounds like a much better approach if you ask me. Good job, Sony. Story Kitchen, the production company who helped bring Sonic the Hedgehog to the big screen, has announced that they are producing another feature film based on the video game Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs was developed by Square Enix and was released back on the PS3, PC, and Xbox 360 back in 2012. Sleeping Dogs is an action-adventure title that follows the story of a detective working undercover to take down an infamous crime ring in Hong Kong. The game's protagonist, Wei Shen, will be portrayed by none other than Canada's own Simu Liu. Simu Liu has tweeted about the growing pains he has experienced trying to breathe life back into the Sleeping Dogs IP, saying, quote, "So few film projects make it from pitch phase to greenlight. Pitching to executives who don't understand the game has been tiring. Everyone's overwhelming love of Sleeping Dogs here has really given us life. First a movie, then a sequel game for everyone. That's always been the dream." The idea of a Sleeping Dogs sequel has longtime fans of the game excited. A sequel for Sleeping Dogs was planned back in 2013, but ultimately the idea was scrapped, likely due to the game's lackluster launch. But if the movie turns out to be the success Simu Liu believes it to be, that could be just the thing needed to revive the idea of a Sleeping Dogs sequel. As a fan of the franchise, I could not be happier to hear this news. Now it's time to go over the video games releasing this week.
Games out this week.
On February 4th, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 ascends onto the PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. On February 5th, Rift of the Necrodancer waltzes onto PC. Additionally, we get While Waiting Puttering onto PC and Nintendo Switch. On February 6th, Moons of Darsalon crash lands onto all platforms. Big Helmet Heroes rescues the PS5, PC, Switch, and Xbox Series X and S. Ambulance Life, a paramedic simulator, resuscitates the PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. And lastly, Keep Driving coasts onto the PC on February 6th as well. The Epic Games Store is offering just one free game this week. Beyond Blue will be available for download from February 6th until the 13th. PS Plus subscribers can look forward to 3 free games for the month of February: Pac-Man World Repack, Payday 3, and High on Life. All of these titles will be free and available to download from February 4th to March 3rd.
Quest complete.
And that's it for the news this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Parris Lilly joins us to discuss how Xbox and PlayStation are adapting to compete with Nintendo and this year's biggest games to keep on your radar.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Parris, welcome back to the show. So good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, and it's always a pleasure having you as well. Phil Spencer was the talk of the town. I just had Danny on last week. You guys both got to interview Phil Spencer, which is really cool to see. Congratulations. But I want to know, like, what was the most, for you, not just necessarily what the news caught on to, but like what was the most intriguing part of talking with Phil? Something maybe that he said or something that he mentioned that you were like, oh, I didn't know about that.
Well, the interesting part for me was the hardware aspect of, okay, Xbox is embracing this multi-platform strategy now. So the question I asked him was like, all right, if I can play my games anywhere, why am I buying an Xbox anymore? And then his response was essentially innovation, that they're going to do something so innovative that you want to buy our hardware, not that you need to buy our hardware anymore. What that's going to look like and how that plays out is the big question that we still need to see come to fruition. But it's an interesting play because it clearly goes against everything we've traditionally seen in console gaming, where exclusives were the reason that you would buy the hardware. Whereas now Xbox is saying, we're going to make the hardware itself desirable that you want to pick up an Xbox moving forward.
Yeah. Do you think that plays into what they're doing for the handheld side? Like, do you think that that's maybe what they're talking about?
Yeah. If because I'm thinking for myself, like, what would it be that would get me to buy Xbox hardware moving forward? It would be that handheld. If it is truly an Xbox that I can play my entire Xbox digital library on. So essentially anything I could do on an Xbox that sits under my television, this handheld can replicate that experience. That would separate it from something like the Steam Deck or the Lenovo Legion Go, things of that nature that are essentially just PCs. Whereas this handheld has the opportunity to truly be a console on the go.
Do you think do you think they look at Nintendo and they're like, darn it, we did not innovate at the right time. We missed the boat. Like, I see Sony's also jumping on the handheld bandwagon. Like, at this point, and I've mentioned this also in the last episode, but like, it looks like Sony and Microsoft, Xbox and PlayStation are competing for at least second place when it comes to Nintendo at this point. And who's going to come out on top, we'll have to see, right?
Yeah, it's always Nintendo. Nintendo has always been the innovators in the gaming industry. And the irony is, like you said, they're fighting for second place. This takes us back to the 2000s with the Wii, whereas the Wii did something unique, obviously caught fire. And then you saw Sony come out with the PlayStation Move, and then Xbox did the Kinect because they were trying to replicate that experience. And I think to your point with the Switch, and now the Switch 2 being very imminent, we're once again going to see Xbox and PlayStation try and replicate that experience.
Do you think they can? Who do you see coming out? Like, do you think out the gate, is it too late for them to do this?
Yeah, it's hard to say if it's too late because, like, I am a fan of handhelds. I have a Steam Deck. I have a Rogue Ally, and I really enjoy them. And that, again, goes to my point of, I think Xbox has an opportunity, if it is truly an Xbox, where not only just the first-party PC games, but for all my first-party games, all my third-party games, backwards compatibility as well is a part of this handheld experience. That would allow it to kind of stick out from the crowd because that's what's unique about the Switch. That is the device, whether it's on my television or on the go, I'm able to play all my Nintendo games. And can PlayStation do the same? We'll obviously see. But that would be the thing they would need to do. Yeah.
Okay. So we covered the hardware part of Xbox. In the news this week, Xbox Game Pass apparently has grown just recently. It's been growing, which is, Xbox has been struggling to do, how to get more subscribers for their subscription service. Do you think at this point, are we going to see more of that? And what do you think spearheaded the growth for Xbox when it comes to this particular jump in
I think what spearheaded it was content, namely Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Bigger part of Game Pass was what spurred that growth. But I do think this is their opportunity now here in 2025 and moving forward, whereas it almost seems like they finally have gotten that roadmap of content together. You look at what we just saw in the developer directive, things that we know we're getting in the first half of the year, and then even a peak with Ninja Gaiden 4 in the second half of the year, not to mention things that we saw last year's showcase that we know would be coming out this year, Fable, we know the Outer Worlds 2, things like that. So if they can consistently start providing content into that service, not only from their internal studios, but indie titles and some select third-party titles, that's going to keep people subscribed. So if I am a subscriber, why would I get rid of it? I'm going to keep it because I know you're consistently giving me content. And then with premium games, again, like a Fable, like a Gears of War E-Day, obviously Call of Duty being a part of the service now, that's going to attract more people to want to subscribe to the service and take advantage of it.
What do you think about GTA 6? Would they potentially, I don't see them doing this, but if GTA 6 was Game Pass available,
I think it would cost an astronomical amount of money to be able to get Grand Theft Auto 6 in there. So no, I don't think that happens, because just for the simple fact that is just one of the unicorns of this industry. When we know Grand Theft Auto comes out, everyone's going to run out to go buy it, and it's going to make billions of dollars. So I don't see Xbox wanting to even do that because just of the financial, the financials that would be a part of that to get it into the service. So no, I'm still holding out that I don't think Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming this year. I think it gets delayed.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
I think because I don't want to get myself too excited. So I'd rather say it's getting delayed and to be happily surprised if it does come out this year.
I like that. I like that approach. What about Sony's, again, in the news? They always try to push PS Plus requirements for games. Now, they've backtracked on a couple things. What do you think about that? Why do you think... I know Sony's also trying to do what Game Pass is doing, right? So I'm trying to see, what is their strategy here? Why are they going about it this way?
I'm happy to see that they're doing this on the PC side and making PlayStation Network sign-in optional now for their PC games, and instead offering incentives for people to want to sign in on PSN on PC, because we saw with Helldivers 2 that once they made it mandatory, you now alienated over 100 countries that no longer had access to their game. So you're splintering your audience by doing that. So making it optional, making available to all countries globally is the right thing. So people that do want to use PSN and sign into it can, and those that don't won't, but they still get to play the games. So this was the right move by them.
The right move on their part. Who do you think is doing better, PS Plus or Game Pass at this point?
Game Pass, because I think Game Pass has always been marketed as a premier service, a premium service, the day and date option. That is the thing that separates Game Pass from PlayStation Plus, that we're going to give you our biggest and best games day one if you subscribe to the service, whereas PlayStation Plus is typically legacy titles. You'll see the odd, partnership they might do with an indie title like the Plucky Squire, as an example, was a part of PlayStation Plus. Plus, I know Game Pass now has tiers, but PlayStation Plus also have these different tiers. But PlayStation has never pushed PlayStation Plus as a thing beyond, hey, if you want cloud saves, we'll give you a few legacy games on there if you sign up to the service, as a reason to want to be a part of PlayStation, whereas Xbox has marketed Game Pass as a reason to want to be a part of the Xbox ecosystem.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying that for people who are listening. I also want to say, this is kind of a left field question, but so the success of Astrobot, it's a game geared towards somewhat of a younger audience. You see Nintendo always succeeding in that place, coming out with games that are great for kids. Do you think Sony and Xbox could benefit from trying to make more games that appeal to children or younger audiences?
Absolutely. I've been saying this.
Do you think they've clicked onto that?
I think Sony has, obviously, with as you just mentioned with Astrobot. I think Xbox is still struggling with that. I think they've not found that title that has that mass appeal to people of all ages, more family friendly, and something I've talked about for a long time. I've jokingly said over the years, Banjo-Kazooie is right there. Why are we not taking a Banjo-Kazooie, on the Xbox standpoint? But to see PlayStation cultivate, and essentially, even though the Astrobot character and IP has been around for a while, to now elevate it into one of their premier IPs. It is recognizable as something everybody can enjoy, is great. And to your point, Nintendo mastered this probably 30 years ago, 40 years ago with Mario. So yeah, I think slowly but surely we're starting to see the other two catch on with that and do the same.
Cool. I hope they do. I hope they try to innovate. I mean, I always say bring back Spyro the Dragon or something like that.
That's another one, yeah.
It could work great. All right. Well, I just have one final question, which is, what are some games this year or coming up soon? I know February is kind of like a stacked month for games, but are there games, what should people be looking out for in terms of like big blockbuster games that are coming out soon?
I will say, and this is one that I'm currently reviewing that I have no opinion on yet, but Avowed is one. I think it's an RPG coming from Obsidian that people should be looking for. Civilization 7 is also coming out this month, is one to be looking for. Kind of looking down the road, we already alluded to Ninja Gaiden 4 is coming later this year. Fable is coming later this year. The Outer Worlds 2 is coming later this year. I am knocking on wood and assuming we're getting a new Mario Kart for the Switch 2. At some point this year. Metro Prime 4 is coming this year. We know we're going to get a Call of Duty, and allegedly Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming this year. But there's a lot. There's a lot coming this year. 2025 looks to be a very stacked year for games. Ghost of Yotai for PlayStation from Sucker Punch is another one as well. So yeah, it's going to be a great year game. A lot of stuff to look forward to.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. Thanks so much, Parris. It's always so great having you on the show and discussing and dissecting all these different things that we're seeing in the space. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I hope you'll be back. Yeah,
I would look forward to being back. Again, it is always a pleasure when you have me on, so thanks for having me. Awesome. Have a good one. You too. Parris Lilly is a host and creator for Kinda Funny and Gamertag Radio. You can follow him on Twitter at Vicious696.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's all we got this week in gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had the best time bringing you the news. Thank you so much for listening. Big shout out, as always, to Josh Seaman for helping write the show. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. And stay tuned next week for a special surprise update. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week. And we'll see you again, same time, same place. Talk to you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeart Radio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeart Radio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeart Radio app for more podcasts just like these.
Summer in Chicago. Get into it. iHeartRadio is giving you the chance to see Teddy Swims live. We'll hook you up with tickets, flights, 2 nights in Chicago, plus $500 spending cash. All you need to do, stream iHeart New Music on the free iHeartRadio app for just 10 consecutive minutes a day. Another day, another shot to win. Details at iHeartRadio.ca. Don't miss Teddy Swims' new album, I've Tried Everything But Therapy, Part 2. Available now.